I never thought refusing my daughter's luxurious wedding would lead to an unforgettable dinner. I will never forget that moment. The silence hung thick in the air. I could feel every heartbeat pounding in my ears. My daughter's eyes burned into me, filled with disbelief and hurt. It was as if time had frozen, and the world outside ceased to exist. Sophie had dreamed of this day since she was a little girl, but when I saw that extravagant venue and those extravagant costs, my heart ached. I couldn't do it. My hands trembled as I shook my head, and the rejection left a bitter taste in my mouth. ID never imagined it would come to this, a choice between her happiness and our financial reality. But something deeper gnawed at me, a gut feeling that this wedding wasn't right. After that fateful conversation, we had dinner at our regular place, the dimly lit bistro with flickering candles and the scent of garlic wafting around us. The atmosphere was different that night. Shadows seemed to dance on the walls, as if whispering secrets that neither of us wanted to acknowledge. The clinking of silverware felt hollow, and the laughter of nearby diners echoed like cruel reminders of our tangled emotions. Sophie stared at her plate, her fork trembling in her hand. The pasta looked untouched, glistening under the dim light like a pool of oil. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Her silence screamed louder than any argument. We were worlds apart, and yet we shared the same air, filled with unspoken words. What caught my eye next sent a chill down my spine. A strange figure in the corner, dressed all in black, shadowed by the poor lighting. They watched us with an intensity that set my nerves on edge. Their lips curled into a smirk, but their eyes could burn a hole through stone. I glanced at Sophie, who seemed oblivious, lost in her world of hurt, while I fumbled with dread rising in my chest. The dinner dragged on, punctuated by fleeting glances at the figure. I wondered, was this person connected to our fate? Did they know secrets I wasn't ready to face? Suddenly, there was a loud crash as someone knocked over a chair, the shattering sound snapping me out of my reverie. And in that moment of chaos, the figure stood, a shadow rising from their seat. That's when I realized a revelation that tore through my anxiety like lightning. The figure pointed directly at me, mouth twisting into words I couldn't catch. My heart raced. Who were they? What did they want? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air grew thicker around our table, each breath weighed down by unresolved tension. Sophie's face turned toward the noise, her expression momentarily breaking free from the fog of disappointment. She met my gaze for the briefest of moments, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. Then she turned back to the chaos, her heart still entrenched within the ruins of our conversation about her wedding. And my heart raced as I glanced back at the figure in the corner, their presence looming larger as they seemed to step out of the encroaching shadows. My instincts screamed at me to confront whatever trouble lay before us, to protect Sophie from the unknown threat that seemed to extend its fingers towards us. Just then, a waiter rushed by, his eyes wide with surprise as he navigated the tumult with practiced ease. "Is everything all right?" he asked, concern etched on his earnest face. I tried to shake off the sense of impending doom. The waiter was offering a glimmer of kindness amidst the brewing storm. "Yes, everything is fine," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. But the flickering candlelight betrayed me, casting erratic shadows that danced ominously on the walls. I turned my attention back to Sophie, determined to bridge the widening gap. "Sophie, about the wedding stop," she interrupted, her voice like ice. "You've already made your choice. That's all that matters now." Her fingers curled tightly around the fork, digging into the flesh of her palm, as if the pain could shift the hurt away. A wave of guilt crashed over me. I wished it were as simple as my refusal. My heart ached at the thought of her dreams being dashed. Yet, I also bore an unshakable feeling that this was more than just a wedding. The figure in the corner kept my instincts on high alert, like a watchman on a lonely tower, and I couldn't ignore the deep, undeniable connection they seemed to share with the chaos inside me that I took a deep breath. The smell of garlic, now an unwelcome reminder of how we'd reached this point, both trapped within a narrative I didn't know how to rewrite. "Can we just talk about it, please?" I pleaded, trying to soften the barb of my previous words. She raised her eyes, filled with unshed tears, and for a heartbreaking moment, I saw the little girl who once clung so tightly to my hand. "Talk," she chuckled bitterly. "What is there left to say about a future that changes in the blink of an eye? You broke my dreams, Dad." That I felt the pang of her accusation slice into me, raw and true. Then the figure moved, and my bravado slipped. They stepped out of the shadows, their face still obscured, shrouded in darkness. With each step they took toward us, the warmth of our cozy bistro felt hollow, drowned under the tension of their approach. Without thinking, I stood, wanting to shield Sophie from whatever this looming specter wanted. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice trembling but resolute. "Someone who knows the truth," they said, their voice smooth and light, almost eerie against the backdrop of the clattering dishes and muffled conversations. The crowd around us was oblivious, engrossed in their own lives, as if we were trapped in a separate dimension of dread. As they neared, the candlelight finally illuminated their face, and my breath caught in my throat. It was someone I recognized from long ago, a figure who had once been part of our lives, and yet faded into the tapestry of time. My mind raced to piece together the past, wondering how their reappearance could connect back to this moment, and to Sophie's future. Their eyes met mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "This wedding you're denying isn't just about the money or the location. There's more at stake here than you realize." Sophie, caught in the web of shock, seemed not to hear the weight of those words. She glanced between the mysterious figure and me, shaken. I could feel the silent clock ticking in her mind, counting down the seconds before she tore apart the fragile thread of our last connection. "What do you mean?" I asked, a frantic urgency edging my words. "They will come for her," came the chilling response. "Those who thrive on dreams, they will take what is most precious if you don't let her go." Sophie's eyes widened in horror, as if the truth of her past intertwined with her future unfurled before her like a menacing storm. "Dad, what is happening?" Her voice trembled, fear storming through her. And then, as if the world stopped for an instant, the figure leaned closer, their voice lowered and laced with gravity. "You can't protect her, not from this, not from what's coming." With those words, they stepped back into the shadows, vanishing like a wisp of smoke. My heart pounded against my chest, panic and confusion spiraling around us. Sophie looked at me, and once more, I saw not the defiant daughter of a moment ago, but a frightened girl yearning for clarity. That I reached for her, but she pulled away, the distance growing larger with each passing second. The weight of the unspoken reality settled heavily between us. I had no answers, just a sense of foreboding that clawed at my insides. As Sophie stood, frozen in fear, I caught her eye. A realization flickered within me, both haunting and desperate. This was not merely about a wedding anymore. It was about survival, her future hanging by an unseen thread, and I was left grasping in the dark. "Don't you dare walk away," I shouted, but her back was already turned. She marched toward the exit, and the door swung shut with a resounding finality, leaving me in a storm of unresolved fears and tangled emotions. In that moment, I understood everything had shifted irreparably, and as I stood there, paralyzed by the echoes of our broken connection, a new revelation dawned upon me. I could not save her from this. Perhaps I had already lost her forever. The restaurant's air chilled around me like the aftermath of a thunderstorm, heavy, oppressive, and deafeningly quiet. The hum of laughter and scattered conversations dimmed into a whisper in my ears, drowned out by the cacophony of my spiraling thoughts. Sophie's gaze, haunted by confusion and betrayal, lingered in my mind, an echo I couldn't shake. How did we lose our way so completely? As the dolorous seconds passed, I finally noticed the waiter from earlier, standing uncertainly by our table, a beacon of unease himself. "Sir, is everything all right?" He looked at me with concern, his brow furrowed. "Not really," I murmured, leaning against the table for support. "I'm sorry. I need a moment," he nodded. Understanding etched across his face, and retreated to the kitchen, leaving me alone with the specter of Sophie's hurt. How could I have let it come to this? I had thought I was protecting her, guarding our family against the shadows of extravagance. Instead, I had thrown her to the mercy of something far darker. After what felt like an eternity, I made my way to the exit, my heart pounded with the weight of failure. When I stepped outside, the cool evening air struck my skin like a whip, stinging but revitalizing. I scanned the bustling street, desperate to catch a glimpse of Sophie's familiar silhouette, but she was nowhere to be found. Just the distant laughter of strangers and the fading glow of the restaurant candelabras made the night feel desolate. Then, my phone buzzed against my palm. One message. I opened it and found a single line from Sophie, each word slashing through my heart like a jagged knife. I can't talk to you right now. This abrupt termination of our connection felt like a shattering glass, each piece and aspect of our relationship falling apart. The deep despair settled in my stomach as instinct painted a picture of the future. What if she was right? What if I had found a way to crush her dreams? But this figure lurking in the shadows knew something I did not. I was tasked with protecting her, yet all I seemed to do was lock her in a tower of my anxieties. Unaware of the dragon lurking just outside, suddenly, I felt the urge to run, to chase after her, as if every moment wasted could mean risking everything I loved. I turned, ready to retrace my steps into the restaurant when a soft voice called out from behind me. Are you okay? It was a woman in a blue coat, her dark hair framing a face that radiated warmth. She held 2 to-go bags filled with food. You looked a bit lost out here. There was a kindness in her eyes that drew me in. Not really, I admitted, feeling exposed in this stranger's gaze. My daughter just walked out. We were having a difficult conversation. Oh, I'm so sorry. She stepped closer, sensing the weight of my anguish. It's tough when things go awry with family. I've been there, believe me. She gestured toward the bags. I just finished dinner inside, and I bought some appetizers to take home. Would you like something? It might help. The gesture caught me off guard. Here was someone who didn't know my pain, yet offered a lifeline in the form of food and empathy. I hesitated, but soon found myself nodding, accepting her small act of kindness as if it were a lifebuoy in an unforgiving sea. Thank you, I murmured, taking one of the bags as our eyes met. I appreciate it more than you know. I am just a stranger, she said softly, but her eyes shimmered with understanding. Still, I think everyone needs a little kindness now and then. I hope you can find a way to talk to your daughter. Family is everything. Her words hung in the air, even more poignant than I expected. At that moment, I felt a flash of clarity amidst the murky chaos. Sophie wasn't just my child. She was an individual with her dreams, fears, desires, and a future that craved its own path, perhaps one I might struggle to comprehend. Do you think it's too late for us? I asked, almost to myself, the question escaping my lips unbidden. Never too late, she replied, her voice soft yet insistent. People can surprise you. It just takes a brave heart and, sometimes a little, time. Her reassurance brought a flicker of hope, igniting the spark I thought had been extinguished in the wake of our confrontation. I thanked her once more as I turned, urging my legs to move, racing back toward the restaurant, needing to find my daughter before the weight of what had been spoken solidified into a chasm too deep to cross. Just as I pushed through the doors, my heart galloping, the waiter approached me again, his face still knitted with concern. Sir, you might want to know, he began hesitantly, glancing behind me. My stomach tightened. What is it? There was a call. Someone's looking for you. They didn't leave a name, but said it was urgent. Said something about your daughter. A chill ran up my spine, an icy tendril wrapping around my heart. What do you mean? What's going on? Before he could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket again. A new message from an unknown number flashed to life. It's about Sophie. Meet me at the park. No one can be trusted. An urgent knot twisted in my gut. I met the waiter's steady gaze, the reality of this night shifting once more under my feet like sand. I have to go, I said, unable to mask the tremor in my voice, filled with a sense of urgency and fear. Take care, he replied gently, but I barely heard him as I raced out into the night, the weight of the messages propelling me toward a new, unfathomable challenge, one where more than just dreams were at stake. My life had already seemed unrecognizable, but now, as I hurried toward the park, I sensed that all the turmoil had only just begun. The park loomed ahead, its darkness unfurling like a wide, open maw, swallowing the filtered moonlight that tried to break through the canopy of trees. Each hurried step echoed the frantic rhythm of my heart. I fought against the whirlwind of fear cascading through me, gripped by a gut feeling that I was racing not just against time, but against shadows I couldn't see. As I entered the park, the cool air was heavy with tension, an anticipatory silence mingling with whispers of rustling leaves. My fingers trembled as I clutched my phone, staring at the message again, willing it to make sense. Meet me at the park, no one can be trusted. A stranger was pulling at the threads of my already frayed sanity, and doubt clasped my heart like a vice. Twisting my hands together, I approached the flickering light of a lamp post, my eyes scanning the space for signs of life. And then I saw a hare figure seated on a bench, cloaked in shadows but unmistakably familiar. My breath caught in my throat. It was Sophie. Running to her, I felt the knot in my chest tighten. "Sophie," I called, my voice tinged with a mixture of relief and dread. She turned, her face illuminated in the harsh glow, revealing eyes that shimmered with unshed tears. "Dad," she whispered, her voice fragile. "I didn't know if you'd come. I wouldn't miss it," I replied, coming to a stop in front of her, the gravity of our earlier discussion hanging between us like a guillotine blade. "But why did you want to meet here? This isn't like you." She looked away, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. "I got a text too, just like you." Her voice cracked slightly, and the revelation sent new trepidation snaking through my veins. It said someone wanted to help us, that we're in danger. My heart plummeted at the revelation. "Danger? What do you mean? From who?" "I don't know. They didn't say." She pressed her palms to her temples, her frustration rippling through the air between us. "Is it about the wedding? Was it really that bad?" I took a deep breath, pushing aside my own feelings of guilt and despair. "Sophie, listen. I didn't want to crush your dreams. I thought I was protecting you by trying to stop me." She interjected, her voice tremulous but resolute. "You think I don't see how you look at me? Like I'm some fragile thing you need to shield from the world." Her words struck, resonating deep within the core of my aching heart. I had tried so hard to keep her safe, yet in my misguided zeal, I had neglected to acknowledge her strength, the very essence that made her Sophie. "Sweetheart, can we just drop it?" She cut in, her eyes flickering with a mixture of anger and pain. "I'm getting messages too, and right now, I really need my dad, not a lecture about responsibility." Her plea grounded me, silencing the myriad of thoughts that had surged back into my mind. "Okay," I said softly. "Let's focus on what matters." The lamp flickered again, casting erratic shadows over our faces, and I sensed someone else was near. Panic surged through me, echoing the urgency in Sophie's voice. But as I turned to look, I caught a glimpse of a figure slipping further into the park, blending with the darkness. "Did you see that?" I whispered, tension tightening around us like a noose. Sophie nodded, her breath hitching as we both instinctively leaned closer together. "What do we do?" she asked, her vulnerability surfacing among her bravado. "I'll go. You stay here," I insisted, shifting my stance, ready to protect her at all costs, even if that meant facing a stranger alone. "No," she exclaimed, grabbing my wrist, her grip firm yet trembling. "If this person knows something about us, we should face them together." We exchanged a charged look, fear intermingling with determination. Without waiting for my reply, she started toward the source of the silhouette, and against my better judgment, I followed. Me heart a cacophony of warning bells and desperate hope. The figure lingered beneath the low branches of a towering oak, half-turned, shrouded in an air of mystery. As we approached, the moonlight caught the edge of their face, and recognition sliced through. "Me, David?" My voice was a strangled whisper as I stepped forward, disbelief crashing against me like a tidal wave. The very person I had worked to shield my family from, the one who loomed like a storm cloud over our lives, was standing before us, casting long shadows over everything I thought I understood. "Hello, old friend," he said, his smile sharp and disarming. "I've come to talk." That a sudden chill swept through me, clashing with the hope I had nurtured only moments before. Sophie was still gripping my arm tightly, inertia locking us both in place, and I realized our world had shifted again, the stakes higher than I ever anticipated. With my heart heavy with dread, I prepared to step deeper into the unknown, knowing that everything I held dear hung in the balance, while uncertainty gnawed at my core. The night stood pregnant with unanswered questions, and my resolve was about to be put to the ultimate test. The tension in the air felt thick enough to cut. I couldn't shake the overwhelming sense that David's presence was the catalyst for something darker, something that had been lurking just beyond the edges of our lives. His eyes sparkled with a predatory gleam, and his grin seemed too wide, too knowing. I instinctively tightened my grip on Sophie's hand, drawing strength from her touch, even as uncertainty swirled around us like a tempest. "David," I said slowly, my voice barely rising above a murmur, "what do you want?" He tilted his head, studying me as if I were a puzzle he was eager to solve. "Oh, I think you know," he replied, the abrasive mockery in his tone grating against the fragile peace I longed to maintain. "Your little girl has made quite the choice, and it seems you're doing everything in your power to stop her." Sophie stiffened at his words, a flicker of defiance igniting in her eyes. "I can make my own decisions, David. You don't get to dictate what's best for me. Decisions, Sophie, require wisdom. And I'm afraid your father," he laughed softly, "he's not equipped to guide you in this world. I can change that for you." All at once, I felt a surge of protective fury. "You stay away from her," I hissed, jerking my body slightly toward Sophie, as if to shield her from whatever poisonous offer David was preparing to unveil. "We've dealt with enough of your manipulation." David shrugged dismissively, but the amusement flitted from his expression, replaced by something colder. "You misunderstand. I've come to help you both whether you believe it or not. Your decisions, dear Sophie, are being watched, scrutinized in ways you can't begin to fathom." The way he spoke was like cold water invading a fire, and my pulse quickened with desperation. "What are you talking about? Who is watching us?" He stepped forward, bridging the gap between us with a confidence that cut like a knife. "You've stirred a pot that was meant to stay simmering. Forces are at play that you have no control over, friends who wear masks and enemies hidden in plain sight. The wedding is just the beginning of it. If you truly want to protect each other, you'll need my guidance." Sophie's breath hitched beside me, and I felt her anxiety bleed into my own. "You really think I would ever trust you?" She shot back, her vibrant spirit sparking defiantly against darkness. "You're the last person I would turn to in a crisis." Her bravery soothed something fragile in me, but I knew her words may be like shards of glass pressed against an open wound. David's eyes flared with irritation, but he masked it quickly, a smile reappearing on his lips. "Oh, Sophie, you're so spirited. It's refreshing, but let me remind you, the world is shaped not just by brave hearts, but by the shadows that follow their light." That I stepped closer to Sophie, feeling her heartbeat quick against my palm, a stark reminder that I was her anchor, her protector. "How do we know you're not just here to make this worse? It wouldn't be the first time you've twisted our lives. That I'd suggest you exercise caution, but I wouldn't want to appear hypocritical." David's expression darkened noticeably, revealing cracks in his charming facade. "Consider this. Your precious plans may unravel faster than you think, and the threat to Sophie's happiness, your happiness, is very real. I'm offering you a glimpse into that reality." He turned slightly, as if to beckon an unseen presence, and for a fleeting moment, I caught movement in the shadows, a fleeting silhouette watching us from the trees. My heart sank with dread, the knowledge that whatever game David was playing, it was far more intricate than we had imagined. "Whatever you've got planned, we won't let it happen," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor deep within. "Well, face it on our own terms." David's laughter echoed like thunder, bouncing off the trees. "Brave words, but very foolish. And perhaps you should remember what happened last time you tried to shield her. That protection, it may just end up being your undoing." A heavy silence enveloped us, wrapping around my heart like a shroud. Sophie looked up at me, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and fierce loyalty, and in that moment, I understood the full weight of our predicament. We were entwined in a labyrinth of danger, and even as we stood side by side, the very foundations of our lives were trembling beneath us. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, the rustle of leaves interrupted. A figure emerged from the darkness, stepping into the dim light, and my breath caught as I recognized her. It was Clara, my estranged sister, the very last person I expected to see here, and she wore an expression that sent a jolt of dread through my veins. "Dad, I'm sorry I'm late, but I couldn't let you do this alone." Her voice trembled, but she held a fierce determination in her eyes. My heart raced with confusion. "What are you doing here, Clara?" She hesitated, glancing between Sophie, David, and back at me. "I've come to warn you. You don't know how deep this goes." And just like that, the intricate web of danger wrapped around us tightened, the stakes rising once more. My heart pounded as I faced the reality that the situation was spiraling beyond my control, the feeling of safety slipping away like sand through my fingers. The unease lingered, and the night was alive with secrets, shadows, and an impending reckoning that would shatter whatever semblance of peace we had left. The shadows cast by the trees seemed to stretch and warp, almost as if they were alive, breathing in sync with the uncertainty swirling among us. Clara's present scene, all its unexpected gravity reverberated through the hollow in my stomach. The very sister I hadn't seen in years had decided to appear during the most precarious moment of our lives. My mind raced, each thought colliding noisily with the others, desperately trying to find a sense of footing amid the chaos. "What do you mean, Clara? How deep does this go?" My voice cracked like fragile glass, revealing the churning turmoil beneath my outward facade. David's mocking smile widened as he watched Clara, clearly appreciating the fresh angle of this unfolding drama. "Ah, family reunions," he mused, his words like a bitter poison in the air. "So poignant, so full of sentiment. But tell me, dear sister, what lengths are you willing to go to for them?" Clara stood tall, undeterred by his taunts. "I'm not here for your games, David. I came to protect them," she said, a thin thread of defiance brimming in her voice. "We don't have time to waste. We need to leave now." The urgency in her tone ignited a flicker of adrenaline within me. Whatever darkness hovered above us was more immediate than we had anticipated. But still, I couldn't shake the disbelief. "What do you know that I don't?" I asked, feeling helpless as the weight of my past relationship with Clara clashed with the present. She took a deep breath, her gaze darting between Sophie and me. It was supposed to be a normal dinner, a reunion. But when I started to dig deeper, I discovered something, evidence of plans set in motion long ago. There are people involved in this, powerful people. They're watching you, Sophie, manipulating things behind the scenes, and David is just a pawn. A chill washed over me at the mention of those haunting words, powerful people. I stared at David, who stood still, eyes glimmering with a sinister delight, a predator savoring the moment. "Is this true, David?" I demanded, my voice a low, fierce whisper. He shrugged nonchalantly, the corners of his mouth twisting upward. "Ah, such skepticism. Very wise. But the truth is far too cumbersome to grasp when you're clinging to your illusions." "Stop playing games," Sophie shouted, her voice echoing between the trees. "What do you want from us?" The tension soared, and for a moment, I felt a glimmer of hope as I witnessed the fire in Sophie's spirit. But then it faded as I watched David. He leaned in closer to Sophie, his demeanor shifting abruptly from a predator to an unusually charismatic ally. "What I want, dear Sophie, is to grant you the kind of life you deserve. You wish for liberation, don't you? To escape the confines your father has placed upon you." The way he spoke twisted something within me, igniting an unfamiliar mix of protectiveness and unease. "You think the answer is to align with you?" I spat. "You thrive on manipulation. Whatever you say is bound to be a web of lies. Be careful, James," he warned, his voice low and dangerous. "Every choice has its consequences." His eyes flicked to Clara before resting on me again. "It's just a matter of when you'll realize how far gone you already are." Clara moved closer to me, whispering quickly, "David holds connections you won't understand. They could cost you everything if you continue to resist." She breathed heavily, her face tense with emotion. "I just don't want to lose you again." "Then you should know that I won't let Sophie go down a path simply because it's easy," I replied, feeling the conviction behind my voice grow stronger. "Not her wedding, none of it. Not while this man is involved." Clara nodded, but her expression shifted, worry creeping into her eyes as she realized the choice laid before us weighed heavier than we could bear. "There's no easy way out of this. We have to act, and soon, or it will be too late. They'll come for you first." David stepped away, surveying the surroundings as if we were merely pieces in his twisted play. Yet, a trace of something darker flashed within him, something almost human beneath the mask he wore. "Then you better gather your wits, dear family," he said, his tone dangerously calm. Because the clock is ticking, and with it comes the wind of change. My mind raced ahead, grappling with the implications of Clara's warnings. I turned to Sophie, my heart constricting at the thought of her wedding being eclipsed by this darkness. We have to fight against this. Together. Just as I opened my mouth to say Moria, hidden voice interrupted from behind the trees. James, you need to understand this is bigger than you think. A stranger emerged, their face obscured by shadows, yet the urgency in their tone shattered my resolve. Without warning, the world around us felt frayed, like the unraveling threads binding our lives together. Who are you? I asked, my heart racing anew as emotions churned. They're coming, the voice warned, and they won't stop until they have what they want. For a moment, the air stilled around us, each second stretching eternally as I recognized the weight of our fate hanging in the balance. The realization washed over me like cold steel against my skin. This was no longer a choice. It was a fight for survival, and we were standing at the precipice of an oncoming storm that could swallow us whole. The shadows lengthened, wrapping around us like a suffocating veil as the urgency of the stranger's warning sank into my bones. My heart pounded against my ribcage, drowning out the sinister whispers of David and the tangled memories of Clara's return. Who are you? I repeated, my voice barely audible amid the dread that filled the air. As the figure stepped forward, revealing dimly illuminated features, I felt both fear and a flicker of something that resembled hope. Their eyes shimmered with an intensity that demanded attention, a depth of understanding only seasoned fighters possess. I have been watching, waiting for the right moment, the stranger said, voice steady yet edged with a tension that felt almost palpable. You must listen. Deception runs deeper than you realize. David is not merely playing a game. He is a harbinger of the chaos to come. Why should we trust you? Sophie interjected, her protective stance firm despite the trembling in her hands. And how do we even know you are not part of this scheme? The stranger's lips curved into a reassuring smile, yet their expression was laced with urgency. I get it. Trust is scarce in moments like this. But believe me when I say that I've witnessed just how far David will go. He thrives on your fears, and he'll use them against you. We must prepare, and quickly. As I exchanged glances with Clara and Sophie, my mind raced with questions. What do we need to prepare for? What is his endgame? Power and control, they replied matter-of-factly. He will try to turn you against each other, to manipulate. And the wedding, it's merely a distraction from the real battle. You need to wake up to what's happening outside these woods. But how? Clara asked, her voice trembling slightly. What can we possibly do against someone like him? At that moment, behind the stranger, I noticed something flicker, an ember of light amidst the uncertainty. A small group of figures stood a distance away, faces flickering in and out of view, half hidden by the shadows. My heart fluttered, unsure if this new presence represented salvation or further entrapment. Your family has allies, James, the stranger said, their voice steady. But they can only help if you invite them into the light. Trust me, they will come if you call for them. Call for them? I echoed, dread coiling in my stomach. What if the wrong people answer? Then let that fall on me. The stranger's expression hardened, a fierce resolve gleaming in the depths of their gaze. Your fight starts with connection. Find your allies, and when the time is right, they will stand with you. A tremor shot through me. The reminder of responsibility weighed heavy. Yet, behind it, hope sparked a fragile but persistent flicker. We'll need to reach out to those we've left behind. There are old friends, people who carries, Clara interjected, determination flooding her tone. People who refuse to be silenced. We can't allow fear to dictate our lives any longer. But I began to feel the warmth of unity, tentative but strong. Perhaps our past connections were the key to combating the storm brewing around us. I squared my shoulders, focusing on each of them, on Clara, who had returned to the fold against all odds, and on Sophie, whose fierce spirit lit the shadows with tenacity. Inspiring resolve settled within me just as David's mocking laughter cut through the tension like a knife. Ah, family hope. It's truly beautiful. But the walls surround you ever tighter. Shut up, David. Sophie retorted, her voice emboldened. We'll find a way through this, with or without you. It's adorable how loyal you all are to one another. Clinging to your delusions, he taunted, shaking his head. But what will your precious unity do when the reckoning begins? My dear sister, you may want to hold that spark tight because soon you'll realize how dangerous the light can truly be. My stomach twisted at his words, dread rising within me like a tide. You're wrong, I said, forcing the conviction into my voice. We are stronger together. We will fight back against this. My gaze drifted to the stranger, who nodded ever so slightly, as if confirming my words. Just then, there was a rustle in the underbrush off to our side, drawing everyone's attention. The tension intensified as I squinted into the darkness, my breath catching at the movement. Fear rattled meth dread of something unexpected lurking just beyond our grasp. Get back! I yelled instinctively, stepping closer to Clara and Sophie as the shadows split apart, revealing another figure, their face familiar yet worn, features haunted, yet somehow comfortingly known. Isabella? I gasped, astonished to see my childhood friend step from the depths of the trees, her eyes wide with disbelief and urgency. What are you doing here? I had to come. I overheard everything, she said breathlessly, glancing nervously over her shoulder. I think they're watching. Before I could react, a low rumble echoed from the depths of the woods, almost like a warning growl. The unease grew thicker, wrapping around us like a suffocating blanket. Time is slipping away, the stranger reminded us urgently, and I could feel the resolve fracturing. Gather your allies, make your call before it's too late. I stood amidst the chaos, my heart racing against the certainty that a storm was indeed coming. Our choices were limited but necessary. The impending dawn would either bring light to our struggle or plunge us deeper into darkness. But as I turned toward Isabella, my fear unconcealed, a suffocating thought washed over me. What would happen if this time hope shattered instead of soared? The shadows danced around us with a life of their own, swirling like the questions that formed in my mind. Isabella's sudden appearance sparked a flicker of familiarity against the looming unease, yet I could sense the weight of unspoken fears in her gaze. A memory surfaced from our childhood of us chasing fireflies under the stars, blissfully unaware of the chaos our lives would soon embrace. Isabella, I whispered, struggling to anchor myself in the moment. What do you mean? You overheard everything. I was close by when the last meeting took place, she answered, glancing nervously around the clearing. Her voice trembled, laden with urgency. I know what David has planned, and we must act before it's too late. Why are you here now? You could have stayed hidden, Clara interjected, her eyes darting to the darkness beyond the trees, as if expecting danger to lunge out at any moment. Isabella swallowed hard, the tension in her throat evident. Because I'm scared, Clara. We all should be. David isn't just toying with the idea of power, he's actively building a force that can extinguish any resistance. He made promises to people I thought were allies, but they've turned. Her words fell heavily, thickening the air with gloom. It's worse than you imagined. A chill crawled up my spine. The flickering hope we had cultivated suddenly felt as fragile as a candle against a tempest. Allies? I echoed, heart racing. Who can we call upon? Isabella lowered her voice, leaning closer. There's a group, an underground network. They've been monitoring David's movements, waiting for someone to take a stand. But James, you'll need to step into the light. They'll not come unless you lead them. Led them? I repeated, the weight of responsibility heavier than I had anticipated. I can't. What if I fail? Then you'll never know what's possible. The stranger's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts, a steady anchor amidst the tempest. Your allies will see your conviction, feeling the warmth of your light. Allow them the chance to rise in unity. As the air grew dense with anticipation, a sense of courage began to stir within me. I could still feel the warmth of Clara's support beside me, and Sophie's unwavering resolve sent ripples of determination through the cracks of my uncertainty. Gather your courage, James, the stranger urged. You must reach out. Call the names of those who matter, those who believe in your cause. The night seemed to hush, drawing in around us like a breath held in suspense. I closed my eyes, seeking clarity amidst the overwhelming noise. Thoughts of old friends, Ryan from college, his laughter like unfiltered joy, and Margaret, with her steadfast heart, rose in my mind. They were warriors in their own right, individuals tied to moments of light that hadn't been extinguished yet. Let me try, I breathed, opening my eyes to the dim light around us. If they're out there, I will call to them. As I closed my eyes again and focused, I reached down into my core, summoning memories of laughter, friendship, and the shared battles of our youth. Ryan, Margaret, anyone, if you can hear Minnow is the time. We need you. The shadows are rising, threatening everything we hold dear. An echo tingled through the trees, momentarily lifting the weight pressing against my chest. The air crackled, laced with an energy that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. Yet, the moment was short-lived, swallowed by an oppressive silence that hung heavy in the clearing. Suddenly, a shrill voice cut through the lethargy, a low whisper that curled into my ear, silent yet sharp. Did you really think it would be that easy? My heart sank as those familiar words wrapped around me, the shadows coiling tighter. David emerged from the inky blackness, a specter amidst our fragile determination, his smile crooked and filled with malice. James, you call out to those you believe will help, but do you truly think they will come? They have heard the warnings, and even now, they are questioning if the fight is worth it, if they themselves are worth it. No, Clara shot back, stepping protectively in front of me. You're wrong. We've faced worse. Unity is long-standing and powerful, and we won't let fear whisper doubt into their hearts. Fear? David laughed, the sound chilling. Classically naive, my dear sister. His eyes glinted with a cruel satisfaction. But remember, I am never far behind. And neither are they. Before I could piece together what he meant, noise erupted from deeper in the Wootsa cacophony of voices muffled yet frantic. My heart raced as the sound grew closer, each heartbeat echoing like the thunder of impending chaos. What's that? Sophie's voice faltered as we all turned to face the source, uncertainty trailing like shadows behind us. That I stared into the darkness, a sensation tingling against the base of my neck. Whatever was approaching bore a mix of dread and expectancy, as if the day had come at long last when destinies would intertwine violently. Then, just as the first figure broke through the trees, stark in relief against the darkness, I realized it was not an ally who had heeded my call. The truth struck me cold. They were not the friends I had hoped would answer, but a new faction to reckon with, one that carried themselves like wolves hungry for a fight. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on me, leaving only a raw, exposed vulnerability. Who were they? How had David orchestrated this? My resolve strained against the shock of this unforeseen allegiance, a cliffhanger to my own desperate plea. In the next moment, I felt the very fabric of our fragile unity begin to unravel, the stitch of my heart tightening against the possibilities of betrayal, darkness, and the undeniable chaos that now threatened to consume us all. The air trembled with the weight of apprehension as the figures flooded into the clearing, their shadows merging with our own. My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum, drowning out the whispers of hope I had summoned moments before. Clara, ever defiant, stepped closer, her blue eyes blazing with a mix of fury and fear. "Who are you?" she shouted, her voice echoing defiantly through the canopy overhead. A leader stepped forward, his features obscured in the dark, but confidence radiating from him like heat. "We are the Reckoners," he declared, his voice low yet commanding. "We've come for what's rightfully ours." David smirked, his eyes lighting up at the sight of this new faction. "Ah, the Reckoners," he said, a laugh slicing through the tension. "Your arrival only adds to the evening's entertainment." My eyes darted around, seeking a flicker of recognition in Clara's or Isabella's expressions, but they mirrored my own confusion mixed with a thin veil of dread. The Reckoners stood tall, their collective presence oozing with an unholy mix of authority and depthless ambition. Wrapping my arms around myself, I felt a shiver coursing down my back. "Your numbers don't intimidate us," I finally managed to say, although my voice faltered under the weight of the gathering storm. "We have something you Dante reason to fight. We fight for our friends, our families, for hope." The leader's eyes narrowed slightly, and I braced myself for the reaction. "Hope. It's a fleeting luxury in a world built on power. We've seen friends become enemies, families torn apart. Your hope means nothing without strength. Enough." Clara interjected, her voice slicing through the tension like a blade. "You think you can scare us? We won't bow to your willingness to spread chaos. You know nothing of what we've endured." Her words were fiercely laced with truth, but I could feel her trembling resolve beneath the bravado. "Chaos is merely a state of mind," the leader shot back, a chilling smile spreading across his face. Are you ready to witness true power? This will be a night to remember. Suddenly, his hand gestured sharply to his side, and the clearing erupted with movement. The reckoners surged forward, shadows melding into a sea of dark intentions. My heart sank as their purpose became all too clear. Run, I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. Clara grabbed my hand, and together we turned, seeking refuge in the trees. Isabella and Sophie followed, urging us onward even as the thud of chaos broke behind us. Echoing into the night like the clanging of a battle hymn, footsteps thundered behind us. The reckoners' movement relentless as they pursued us through the thicket. They're gaining. Sophie cried out. Get to the riverbank, I shouted, pushing through the foliage, the familiar sounds of nature replaced by the heavy thrum of our escape. Each labored breath was a reminder of our vulnerability, and fear cast its dark net over our chances of survival. As we burst onto the bank, the moonlight shimmered over the water, pale and inviting, yet tinged with the uncertainty of our fate. What now? Clara gasped, her eyes wild as she scanned the horizon. I could feel my mind racing. We hide until morning, then find a way to regroup with James. We need to reach out to those we trust, but my plans were cut short as a sharp cry pierced the air. A ray of moonlight revealed a flash of movement, and that movement coalesced into another figure emerging from the trees. It was Ryan, James. Clara, over here. He was breathless, fear written across his face. Yet there was relief there, relief mingled with disbelief at our unexpected meeting. I was worried I'd never find you. My mind spun, the reunion a bittersweet elixir amid the chaos. Ryan, but how did you? We don't have time. He interrupted, urgency fueling his words. David is mobilizing. People are turning to him, swayed by his promises of power and protection. He's stirred something sinister, and everyone will soon pick a side. Even in moments filled with hope, darkness loomed like a specter. But we're not combat ready, Clara challenged, glancing nervously at the trees behind him. We can't face them unprepared, much less we gather strengths and craft strategies. That is how we survive, Ryan responded, his voice firm like a warrior's battle cry. Suddenly, he reached for my hand, grounding me once more. We all face shadows, but they are simply afraid of the light. As fleeting as that thought was, it struck a chord deep within me. Then we shine brighter, I resolved, locking eyes with Clara, Isabella, and Sophie, each glimmering with emotion. I could feel the shifting tide, the hope that lingered in our depth, despite the darkness closing in. But before we could collect our thoughts, the sound of breaking branches echoed ominously in the distance, pulling me back to reality. They're coming, Isabella warned, her voice urgent. In that moment, an impossibly loud crash followed, as though the very earth rebelled against the idea of being a battlefield. Another sound joined the fray, a voice, unmistakably familiar. Stop! You can't go after them. My heart sank as I realized who it was, the voice that had orchestrated the night's predicaments, the voice that related directly to the shadows swirling around us. David had someone with him, someone we had put within our circle of trust. Who? Clara breathed, panic rising in her tone. Margaret, I whispered, the name barely escaping my lips as betrayal settled in. Shadows danced once more, but this time carrying the weight of a deeply unsettling revelation. The very threads of our unity were fraying, weaving the story of our fight deeper into a web of deceit as the darkness continued to encroach upon us. And with one final glance toward the approaching figures, I felt the ground beneath me tremble as I braced for the inevitable collision of loyalties and shadows. As our fate teetered on the edge of a knife, uncertainty tangled with what we once held dear, and the night closed in around us like a shroud. The shadows seemed to whisper around us, a chorus of uncertainties threatening to drown out our resolve. My heart raced as Margaret stepped forward, her familiar silhouette cutting through the dark. James, she called, her voice honeyed yet tainted, laced with duality that made my skin crawl. You have to trust me. David is manipulating all of this. Trust. The word clashed violently with the gnawing betrayal swirling in my chest. How could you align yourself with him? I demanded, stepping protectively in front of Sophie, Clara, and Isabella. unwilling to let the very walls of our fragile circle crack further. You were supposed to be with us. Margaret's eyes flared with emotion, a flicker of the woman I had once drawn strength from, the one who shared laughter over late-night coffees. It's not as simple as that. We're in danger, James. David has different plans for you. He knows your weaknesses and has been waiting for the right moment to turn everyone against you. The air grew tense, thick with unspent energy, vibrating with the hum of buried fears and unspoken truths. I looked desperately at Clara. She was the heart of our family bond as much as Sophie was. Her eyes, filled with a mix of loyalty and apprehension, silently urged me to keep going. We're tired of being pawns in a game we didn't sign up for. She finally spoke, her voice unwavering despite the rapid beating of her heart. We stand together against whatever darkness you think you can bring. You won't divide us, Margaret, but that steely bravery I had come to admire was being cut down by the relentless, encroaching shadows. You don't understand what is at stake here, Margaret countered softly, almost begging. David isn't just after power, wants total control. He knows how to play your emotions, to make you lash out against one another. Sophie stepped forward, her presence a shield against the fear that was creeping into my heart. Then maybe we should use that against him, she said fiercely. Whatever he thinks he knows, will turn the tides. Her eyes, burning with defiance, met Margaret's. And you can either be a part of our family, or you can become a shadow of the past. The tension hung in the air like a tightrope. Time seemed to stretch infinitely, each heartbeat a reminder of our interconnected fates. David's figures loomed closer, and I knew we needed to act fast, or we'd lose everything. You want to come back, Margaret? I said, my voice grounded with conviction. Then help us fight against him. This time, together, but the shadows splintered around us as David emerged, his smile unnerving, triumphant. How touching. But you see, dear James, you failed to comprehend one significant detail. His eyes sparkled with mischief, the warmth of friendship long gone. The past you cling to is precisely what he'll use against you. You think you can protect each other? The shadows are already dancing on your fears, insidiously drawing out dividers. Before I could respond, laughter erupted behind him. A cacophony of familiar voices emerged from the darkness. Ryan, Margaret's ally, Nathan, and others I had once battled alongside now stood beside David. Their gaze locked on mine, each face stretched with cold indifference. I whispered, the weight of realization crashing over me. The world I thought I knew had crumbled into fragments, like glass shattering under immense pressure. The people I had counted on, woven into the fabric of our lives, had betrayed us. Here, eyes glinting with false promises, their hearts lost to shadows they had chosen to embrace. The reckoners, too, transformed into something I had never anticipated, allies feeding into darkness rather than defending against it. It's the easy way, James, David purred, the venom in his voice like silk, cloaked over a dagger. Your little rebellion will amount to nothing. Look around. They've chosen the better path, and you're left behind. Sophie's breath huffed beside me, anger fueling her outrage, yet I could sense her fears simmering beneath her daring exterior. We won't bow to you, she spat, a fierce determination roaring to life in her voice. I don't care what assumptions you have. This is our life, our choice. That is it? David mused, slowly walking closer, his presence radiating menace. Or is it a choice marred by your illusions? How long until your own blood turns against you? It struck hard, like a blow to my gut, as pain flared at the thought of Sophie being hurt, of the family torn asunder. But rather than allow that fear to seep through, I held on to the flickering hope ignited back at the park. If I was to summon strength from somewhere, from everyone who believed in our cause, I could not falter in the face of this darkness. Margaret, I called out, trying to pierce through the fog surrounding her. You're still with us, aren't you? You can still choose light. Her eyes narrowed, the struggle evident on her face. James, there are truth layers you haven't peeled back. I want to help, but you must understand the repercussions attached to this fight. Maybe the fight goes beyond us and what we think we know, Clara interjected, stepping forward, gathering her courage. If we have to carry our mistakes and share the burden together, that's what families do. That's where we derive our strength. A rift flickered across Margaret's demeanor, the tension of choice pressing heavily upon her. She stepped back, caught within the confines of regret, one foot planted in the shadows, the other retreating toward the warmth of the light we offered. "I need," she began, her voice wavering, but was cut short as David's laughter echoed across our fragile unity. "Enough of this heartfelt display," he sneered, his voice dripping with condescension. "Families, light, dreams, all foolish notions. This game has only ever belonged to those unafraid to take risks. And rules dictate that cowardice will not be tolerated." With a sudden ominous flick of his wrist, shadows stirred, the reckoners drawing in tighter, advancing steadily, as if emboldened by his malevolence. "You'd sacrifice everything to protect your weak ideals," he taunted, eyes gleaming with malicious delight. "But your time is over." Fury bubbled within me, but fear crept in its wake out, shaking my resolve. But then I remembered that flicker of hope, the kindling spirit of those who stood beside me in the darkness, urging me to stand tall. A tidal wave of realization flooded my heart. The past didn't dictate our future. Families united, fractured, or estranged could be mended under the pressure of gravity we created. "Then let's breach this darkness together," I shouted, raising my voice as I reached for Sophie, Clara, and Isabella, the steps of solidarity igniting flames behind me. "We won't yield. This is not just about family. It's about agency, choice. And if we're going into battle, we do it together." Their eyes lifted as they tapped into that inner truth, momentum building as the reckoners closed in. "For everything we have," I urged, breaking through the chaos. "We need you." Connecting with hope often meant a reckoning, and though doubts still lingered, it was light, however fragile, that we'd fight for. Drawing strength from our bond, we stood side by side, no more divided, every heartbeat a drum echoing through the chaos. With renewed resolve pulsating through us, we turned as the shadows advanced. A single spark ignited within the depths of looming uncertainty. David's threats faded into whispers lost to the night. Together, we would face whatever storm lay ahead, unraveled but unbroken. "The light must shine brighter than the darkness," I shouted, catching my breath amid the oncoming tide of shadows. "This is our fight, as a family together. For better or worse, our unyielding spirit would illuminate the path forward." The final confrontation loomed like a distant storm, yet I knew, deep down, a flame flickered where hope began. In the dance of shadows bearing down upon us, we would stand united long after the night surrendered its grip, reclaiming the strength buried within us. And in that heartbeat, I understood. This was not merely a battle for the future. It was an embrace of the whole of us, woven together by a tapestry of love and fight, determined to shield all we held dear from the raging darkness. As the reckoners closed the gap, our bonds tightened, every heartbeat a reminder that within each of us lay the courage to withstand whatever shadows loomed ahead. "Let's show them what we're made of," I whispered to Sophie, Clara, and Isabella, and felt the strength ripple through our shared moment, defiant against the desolation that in that unwavering silence. A new line was drawn, a promise that love, once forged, would never falter in the face of shadows, determined to conquer. The dawn of our resolve awaited us, powerful and fierce, as the storm began to stir around us with an energy that echoed something even darker. And thus, together we dashed into the night, hearts ignited, bound by a sacred vow and whispered truths. Though the night bore its dark intent, rekindled by the collective light we held, I knew we were prepared, ready to rise against whatever sought to extinguish our light, our very essence. Tomorrow awaited, and in the face of uncertainty, we knew how to gather, to fight together.